And good evening, everybody. Another Sunday, another respect. Welcome back. Hope you all had a great week. Tonight, we got a very, very special guest. I'll get into that in a second. I just wanted to go over a couple of little housekeeping things before we get started. As you all know, because I've discussed this before, I never advertise anything on this platform that is making me money or anything along those lines. I have the QR code up in the corner. That's for anybody who wishes to donate to Louis Herm's campaign for governor of California. And as you all know, I greatly appreciate all of you who have gone and donated to the ARC training to get people trained to recognize, rescue, and rehabilitate missing and trafficked children and abused children. Very, very important. And I want to thank all the people who have donated to the cause. It's very important. And then starting next week, this is kind of impromptu right now, but starting next week, I will be putting on Verity medals. Again, I'm not normally the type of person who sells anything on this platform, but Verity Metals has agreed that with my terms, basically, that any commissions that I make, and the owner of Verity Metals, Matt Geiger, has agreed to match any commission that I make, and all of that money will go to ARC training and go to the children's ranch that's being built here in Sarasota County, Florida. So all of this is very, very important to all of you, I hope, and to all of us. So with that out of the way, I'd like to welcome our special guest, American hero, Michael Jaco. How are you, Michael?
Mark, I'm not hearing you.
You're not hearing me? You can't hear me? Oh.
I heard the intro, but I'm not hearing you, unfortunately.
That is strange. That is very strange. Studio chat, no sound. No sound. Wow. Okay, is anybody else hearing me? That's the question. Huh. My mic is not muted. Let me see if anything's going out there.
Still nothing.
Test 1 2 1 2. It's putting out audio. Wow. You're absolutely not hearing me.
Still don't hear you, unfortunately.
Okay, people on. I tell you what. Log out. Come back in.
Go out and come back in? Okay, I'll try that.
Technical difficulties. Thank you, everybody out there, for letting me know that you hear me. That's a wonderful thing. So at least I know it's just a connection between Michael and myself. And he should be back any second now, and we'll get him on. But again, I hope all of you had a great week. I hope all of you will support the causes that are near and dear, hopefully at all of our hearts. And we can save as many of the children as we possibly can. It's the president's first and most important part of this. And let's see, let's get Michael in here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now. Good.
There we go. Okay. Welcome back.
That was a great intro, and I heard you're like moving your lips, but it's like nothing coming. I thought, that sucks.
Yeah, and I never learned American Sign Language, so. But,
go out and come back. Yeah, I got that.
Exactly.
That worked.
So, excellent. So I know, and I think most people know about your background, Michael. I mean, absolutely an American hero. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
But I also know that very near and dear to your heart is the same thing that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is this plague of child trafficking.
Right.
And we all do our parts to try and obliterate this from the face of the earth, rescue these kids, get them rehabilitated. But people have been watching my show for a while. They know the programs that I've done about it.
Awesome.
Give us a little background as to what you've done going toward getting rid of child trafficking.
Yeah, I've talked about it quite a bit over the last 5 years that I've really been in the social media, YouTube and Rumble and all those platforms. I've had many guests on that have talked about it. And before the show, I was mentioning to you that in the early stage, about 5 years ago now, I had these people that were coming on that said, no one's really going to listen to this. And I was like, oh, they'll listen. My audience will listen. And sure enough, my audience came in big numbers and have always been in big numbers. So we are getting the message out there. And like we talked about, you don't see it in the mainstream media because they're hiding it. And that's part of the bigger picture that we're trying to disclose and unearth all of the negativity that's been going on for so long.
See, now when you look at that, and you know that people in the alternative media, not many, not enough, but people in alternative media have been broaching the subject for quite a while.
Right.
They've been getting people on who've been trafficked. They've been getting people on who have kids who have been groomed, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And all of these things going on in our country and around the world. And yet the mainstream media doesn't discuss it. Now, we've gone through a lot where we have been told, and I believe that the mainstream media has been taken over by the white hats and that we're moving in the right direction.
Right.
And you can't just blurt the information out. But don't you think we should be seeing a little bit more and hearing a little bit more about these things and when children get rescued, et cetera, on the mainstream media?
Yeah, I think it's happening. You know, you have basically the borders being sealed up. They've been talking about the issues that have been coming in. You know, you got the border czar basically he's doing a great job. He talks about it. I've heard it talked about by the FBI now. It hadn't been talked about by them for a long time. So the numbers are out. You know, during the Biden administration, over 300,000 children went missing. They've only, relocated 11,000 of those children. And President Trump, whenever he gets the opportunity, he puts it out. During his last administration, there were more rescued children, I think, than probably all the other presidents combined. So he is working in that direction. But like you said, there is a disconnect with the media, which I know you were in the media for a long time, and you're doing your penance now by coming out. And like you said, I thought that was beautiful. We need more people in the media to do that, because it takes a lot of courage, because they're going to come after you. They've come after all of us for putting out this information. I've lost 17 YouTube channels. I'm on my 18th now. I don't know how long that's going to last. They're already starting to give me warnings on information I'm putting out there. So, but I've been doing a lot of Rumble. It does, work in a certain time frame, revealing the stuff. This is not anything new. You go all the way back to Edward I in 1291, I think it was. He did the edict where he basically expelled the Jews. And you pull it up and you're like, why did he expel the Jews? And they said, well, he hated them and all this. No, he had a problem with, they were taking children, right, and doing horrific things with them. So this is, and Philip IV, I think, of France, went after the Knight Templars and throughout the Jews as well, because of the same situation. So they keep getting expelled from all these countries over and over again. I'm not going after Jews. I have a lot of Jewish friends, but there is an element that does this, that goes after children in the most horrific of ways. And it just gets quieted down. Oh, you're you're anti-Semite if you like disclose this. And it's like, no, we're going to disclose this information regardless of who's involved. There's more than just Jews are involved. Christians are involved. Muslims are involved. Every religion, every race is involved in this. It's a massive problem. Unfortunately, it's still a problem in, I guess, Zionist Israel, because we have people that are, being investigated for child crimes, and they run to Israel and are protected there, so they can get away with that. So there is a problem. It's been a long-going issue. Will it be resolved in a short period of time? Only if more people get involved. And that's been the way it's been for a long time. So obviously there was enough people in those countries, in England, that were in an uproar and outraged enough to like expel a problem that were, people that were into using children in the wrong way. Now, did that mean that the rest of England and the monarchy and all that we've seen, there's been problems with them as well throughout all the monarchies of Europe? They seem to abuse children as well. We've heard of, children being hunted, hunting parties. This is not just made up stuff. There's been plenty of people, children that were involved in them, that have talked about it. So yeah, disclosing it is something we do, but there's a lot of suppression on the other side. I mean, you look at Joe Biden in front of everybody molesting children and on camera. Yeah, it's like, and it's all documented, and there's video after video after video of him molesting children and women, and still he was supported. Still, there's Democrats that love him and love the Democrat Party. I'm abhorred by that. It's something that, it's in everybody's face, but they choose not to look at it. That's the problem we're at. That's where we're at.
Well, a lot of that, I think, stems from this, again, from the media, the separations and the divides that they've put between us for centuries, but especially since the advent of mass media.
Mm-hmm.
Because every place that they wanted to separate us, they've done it. And the purpose of it is, go back to the Caesars. You're a military guy, divide and conquer. And that's their template for everything.
Yeah.
And facts being what they are, all of this has always been about money and power. And I mean, so many people have said it. I can't recall who said it last, but you could sell drugs, and you could sell guns, and you could sell all kinds of stuff once. But a child they sell over and over and over again, when they're of no use any more than they harvest the organs.
Mm.
And these are things that, I'm sorry, but I think that this is something that really, really, truly needs to be put out in the mainstream more often, so that people can really, truly, not just us, but the normies, the people who just don't have a clue as to what's going on, need to understand that this isn't just some joke. It's not just some kind of conspiracy theory. This is for real. And it's sad to think that a lot of these people don't take it seriously until they walk into their kid's room one day and there's nobody there. And, where do we as a people go to really bring this to the forefront, besides what we're doing now?
I mean, it keeps being brought to the forefront. You have the Jeffrey Epstein, you have the P. Diddy, there's Playboy. They used the Playboy jet and Playboy bunnies to get Vietnamese orphan children, and they brought them to America to be given. It's just like, where do they go? It's like they're put in orphanages and somebody comes and adopts them. No, they disappeared. So, this is something that a lot of people don't want to face. It's there's horrific involvement. I have heard it from lots of military folks. I've seen it to a certain extent. When I was in the military in the CIA, 35 years. I mean, so over time you start to see things, but there's always someone there to like, don't look at this, don't look at this. And, but you look at it and you start to take notice. And I talked to other people that were in, naval intelligence and so forth, that talked about how San Diego was a trafficking hub that the military used to bring children from overseas to San Diego. So this, like I said, during the Vietnam War, lots of conflicts they used to basically hide the child trafficking. Same thing's happening in Ukraine. Same thing happened in Afghanistan. Same thing happened in Iraq. Syria, children become homeless because their parents are killed in combat, or they're separated because of infiltration by one side, and everybody runs for their life, and then these children are left stranded, and they're taken advantage of. So this is unfortunately ongoing thing, but again, most people turn a blind eye to it, and that's just the surface level of it. Now, if you start to look at, like we talked about before the show, a lot of places, I've heard from so many people that said that wherever you are in the United States, there's child trafficking going on around you. It's that pervasive. And in every single county in the United States. And I know a lot of people are like, that's not happening in my county. And then they find out. And they're shocked, but there's lots of indicators, and people have talked to me in my shows of how in every town there are markings, and usually where the Masonic temples are, you can go and look in whatever. There's something that we don't know about, but there's people that know about child trafficking, like you can do this kind of child bad stuff here, right? And we do this here, and we don't do that because whatever. But there's markings within the town that are indicators for people that do specific harms to children, and they can see that. It's like the whole town, and some whole towns are involved. I've talked to a woman who lost her little boy because the judicial system basically forced her to continue to give visitation rights to her husband, who was sexually abusing and having other people come and sexually abuse her 3-year-old son, to the point where he died from it. So how she found out, the hospital contacted her. And so she comes to see her child. She can only see him. She can't take charge of him. That's all handled. That's all this disinformation goes out from that point. The doctors in the hospital are in on it. The sheriff's in on it. Everybody in the town's in on it. So those types of markings will be in a town where we completely control this town. You can do whatever you want here. That's in a lot of towns. It's insane, but it is what it is.
Well, you would make the assumption that it's probably more prevalent in big cities.
Sure.
Probably it's more prevalent in smaller towns.
Right.
Where you've got a small town sheriff, and you've got, your small town pastors and all of this stuff. That's everything is kept kind of hush hush. And I know that one of the points that you just brought up, I've been told by a number of guests who were abused and either sexually abused or SRA, and they say that it all starts in the family, and it's usually someone in the family that either does it, promotes it, or enables it.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've been seeing in the unfortunately the royal families. and they're often involved in a lot of this child trafficking. It's like we talk about. That's on a bigger scale. So you have, I mean, you look at P. Diddy, you look at Jeffrey Epstein, billionaire with billionaire funders, right? So P. Diddy, billionaire. So you have these extremely rich and successful people, and people look up to them, want to hang out with them, but do they know that there's child trafficking going on? Of course they do, and they'll deny it, just like Prince Andrew did. But eventually it caught up with him. Now the royal family has taken away, his princeship, I guess. I don't know, but it's crazy. You look back in time. There was a King Leopold. I don't know if it's a third or second or something like that of Belgium. He was known to have children as young as 10, and that went on for years and years and years. And then eventually it somehow got disclosed. I think he got sick or something, so he couldn't control it and make sure that no one, tattled on him. But eventually that came out. So how many more are there? We look at, this has been happening for a long time. There was a Dutch farmhouse, I think, several years ago, where the father was abusing like 8 of his children or something. Had them in a basement. One of the sons escaped and went to a local pub and told them the situation. 4 of the children didn't want the father to suffer anything, and then the other ones are like, yeah, we want to keep them away from all of our siblings and so forth. And I went deeper into it, and it went all the way to the top. So it went into the royal family. The royal family was involved as well. There's other gentlemen that was standing charges. The father never stood trial. The judge was like, he's too ill. This is all, it's all covered up. Now the Dutch people were all in an uproar about it. And so, yes, they're like, we're doing something. We're going to take him to trial. And then eventually it gets to that point after a year or two, and it's like, oh, he's too ill. And then it went quiet, and the Dutch people forgot about it. That's another problem. So some of this stuff gets disclosed, and people are soon to forget because they, push it and push it. Like P. Diddy. P. Diddy went to trial, and he looks like he's going to stand. He's in a minimum security prison, and they're taking pictures of him out in the prison yard of Fort Dix, and he's hanging out with everybody else, and he's got a big old smile, and everybody's like gathered around him like he's a hero, and they're like, P. Diddy, he's probably only going to serve about 3 years or less. 3 years? Really? Crazy.
See, and this is the problem.
Will it turn out to be 6 months?
This is the problem, because a lot of, it does get into the justice system a lot. And, the problem with Epstein, and I've discussed this a number of times also, is they put Epstein out there. People knew what was going on. People spoke about what was going on. Everybody's waiting for the list. But most people looked at it as, who the hell is Jeffrey Epstein?
Mm-hmm.
When you bring in somebody like P. Diddy, who everybody knows, now it's a different thing. And you see, even in that case, what our justice system does. Mm-hmm. This is not justice. And when you look at all the testimony, when you look at all the evidence, and yet these people end up with a virtual slap on the wrist, where and at what point, and I know there's a lot of involvement in the legal system, but where did we allow these things to happen? Where did we allow all of this to go wrong?
It's been we look at I remember when I was growing up, had the what was that little girl's name? The Good Ship Lollipop. Dorothy or something.
No. Oh, gosh. Well known.
I know. So,
Senior moment.
yeah, senior moments. So, let me pull it up for good ship lollipop. So, anyway, this little girl, I remember I was just so enthralled by her. She was like, I just loved her. She was so sweet, and I wish I could date a little girl like that. But I look back on it now, and Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple.
Yeah. So I look back on it now, and you see all of the different things that she's involved with. And I'm looking at a picture right now of her, and she's surrounded by men while she's singing. And I remember she would like go to she'd sing in front of all the men. And you look at that now and you're like, oh no, all the way back then, so not, not, not good. And they're all like adoring of her, and she's on their laps, and it's like, yeah, this is, wow. So we don't, some of the stuff we don't see. It's, I didn't recognize it back then. I didn't know. I was a little boy, and I had no clue. But now when I look back on it, I'm like, they've been doing this for a long time, making it okay, making it so that, oh, there's nothing to see here. It's just Joe Biden. He's nice to that little girl. And his hand just kind of slipped down her shirt and seems to be like on her breast. That's just, he didn't know that. He didn't know that, so we just make excuses for it. And over time, it gets worse and worse and worse in the background. And that's the facade in front of us, like the Playboy Mansion stuff, in the background, in the back rooms, they're doing, wild stuff and video in it and using it as a way to corrupt people. Like, oh, we got this video of you, kind of like what Jeffrey Epstein did. So it's been going on for a long time. And, CIA involvement with, obviously with Playboy, CIA involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. So there's all the way at the top of government. And like we talked about with Kathy O'Brien. Kathy O'Brien, was a sex toy for Ronald Reagan, who arguably is one of the most distinguished and, well-liked presidents in history. But yeah, she was a sex toy for him and for others. And some of them abused her very, very horrifically. So she talks about that. So she was groomed for that. And she started to groom her daughter, and fortunately both of them got out of that system. She was at the point where they're about ready to extinguish her because they reach a certain age and they're no longer desirable. So they just do away with them, kill them. So she knew that they had changed her age, dropped her age so she could stay, for a little bit longer, but she knew the game was up. And fortunately, she was pulled out of the system by someone in the CIA that knew who was involved and who was using the system. And they both tried to disclose that for many years. Same thing. She's written books. You would think everybody in the world would be like, oh, this is a horrific system. We have to come after this. But no, it still goes on. How many people have read her books? Probably less than 1% of the population. So, look at Shirley Temple. Pull up Shirley Temple on the good ship Lollipop. Watch that little clip. She's dancing around men, singing to men. She's a little girl. So they were making it, okay for a long time. And we have to stop this. And until we get involved, we, the people, get involved, it's going to continue. If we continue to turn a blind eye, it's going to continue. I mean, how horrific does it have to be disclosed to you? Because I can give you incredibly horrific stories, like in tunnel systems where there are meat hooks where they hang children at a child level, and the special forces groups that came in to rescue them could see where children were organ harvesting live children. So is that horrific enough for you? Or that maybe you'll stand up and do something, get involved, spread this information, spread this show. We'll see.
See, and that again goes back to what we were talking about before with the mainstream media. When you've got situations that I guess people have become brainwashed enough by the mainstream media that they don't, if they hear a story like that, it's immediate BS.
Right.
It's a conspiracy theory. Oh, something must have happened to him in the military. He's making this stuff up. And yet they don't comprehend, or they don't want to comprehend, the fact that not only has it been going on for millennia, but it's been going on right under our noses, under our universities, down in the tunnels and this and that and the other. Now, you brought up the topic of the tunnels. When you were active, what is subterranean warfare really like, and how, aside from the horrific things that you probably saw, how dangerous is it down there for any good guys to go in and try and free these kids and stop what's going on?
It is the toughest combat that you can be exposed to. Now, it's easy to, there's been munitions that have been introduced, because I was at SEAL Team 6 and I was a breacher, explosive expert. There's been munitions that basically to fight in the caves of Afghanistan. But when President Trump came in, so this is a little bit after I left, so I was involved in occasionally going into subterranean. In Vietnam, there was a lot of subterranean stuff that those guys were involved in. In World War II, the Japanese did a lot of subterranean stuff. That was one of the reasons why they had the flamethrower, so they didn't have to go down those tunnels. And in the Vietnam War, they had dogs that would go down and search. I think this had the same thing in World War II. And there's memorials to the dogs that went into those tunnels, but because a lot of them were lost. There's a lot of easy ways, like the flamethrower or munitions, that will travel deep down a tunnel and destroy everything. But for you to go in and rescue someone down a tunnel, that is the toughest warfare there is. Now, I've done SEAL Team 6. We're experts in room clearance and so forth. I've done ships. I've done aircraft. I've done planes, trains, automobiles, any kind of building you can imagine, high rise, whatever. But the tunnels, that was really sketchy. I remember going into a ship. Ship has, different, if they're darked out, it's like being in a tunnel, and it's pretty spooky. You have your nod zone, your night, vision, and so forth. And then you have a light, because there's no light down there. So you have to have a infrared light that shines. If anyone has that capability, they're going to see you coming. So, and they're going to be ready for you. So it's extremely tough. You can throw flash crashes, which basically is a quick flash of light and a blast to stun. But you can't keep throwing those all the way down a tunnel, because it's going to affect you too over time. So it's tough. It's unbelievable tough. Now, people started to be trained in it when Trump came into office, because they recognized we'd seen that as an issue for a long time. Now, when I was in, it wasn't so much for rescuing children. My total focus was terrorists and so forth. But now you have units that have been dedicated to that over time. Whole groups are dedicated to going into the tunnels and taking down the tunnels. It's total technique. You can destroy the surface problems if you can find them. Same thing that's happening in Gaza. They're able to go down the tunnels, and they go underneath the hospitals, right? And I don't know if they have universities, but I'm sure they have them under the universities too. So that's all that stuff is being disclosed. You know how that's been going on for a long decades and decades, and we're just now getting wind of it. That it's been going on for a long time. So doctors, universities, hospitals are all involved in this. Organ harvesting coming from hospitals now is major money for them. They're taking the body has to be alive for organ harvesting. If you die, the organs die, so they're useless. So the body has to be alive. So that's one of the things. Like you've done shows with a guest, Lynn, that talked about, and I've worked with her too. She talks about, you know, having memories of that as a little girl, and how she wasn't selected for the organ harvesting or for extreme sexual, you know, pleasure for some rich person they all would see the little children and they would bid, you know, what they wanted them for. So that's if you had a parent that expected you to come back, then you would come back, but you might be used. But if a parent was like, just like they're doing down in South America, yeah, I'll sell my kid. So that's going on as well. Parents are selling their children for money. We've seen that as well. So it's a tough road. So, you know, lots of problems. They take advantage, but they also, you know, people that are on drugs and so forth, they take advantage of their children. It's a mess.
Now, I'm a little bit off topic, but it's on topic. You know, I mean, pretty much so everybody's got to know the psychological damages it causes to the children. What kind of damages this cause to the troops?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. And thanks for asking that. It's tough. It's, you know, the psychological damage from that is long-term for a lot of guys. So you have to have a certain individual that's pretty dedicated, and plus there's, you know, programs to help guys work through that. PTSD for guys that work the tunnels and so forth is way more than the guys on the surface. Way more. Just going into tunnel is spooky. Just going down into those tunnels, it's like creepy. I remember being in Saddam Hussein's tunnels, and you could tell remember there was like a little boy that he had prisoner before we came in. He was an American boy, and he was sitting on his lap and say, everything's good. And you could tell that little boy was traumatized, right? And he was obviously down in the tunnel. So they're filming down in the tunnel because he had a massive tunnel system because he knew that we're trying to get him, trying to hunt him down and bomb him. So yeah, the trauma for everybody that's down there is pretty substantial. It's if you're into spirituality, there's a lot of cleansing that has to be done because there's very dark spirits that are involved in that too. I've been involved in clearing some of the stuff as someone that's a remote viewer and a remote influencer. So I see this kind of stuff too. I go down in the tunnels as a remote viewer. I don't go down them very far. It's horrific. It's beyond anyone's imagination, and it will affect you. So the guys that are physically there, unbelievable. And I've heard, you know, those guys are really traumatized. So understandable. Just as a remote viewer, you would think that I'd have, you know, the safety of, you know, just not being physically there, but I can see obviously what's going on down there, and it's not good. And then of course, like we talked about, they've talked about the 11,000 children that they have rescued, and they don't talk about at all how traumatized those children are and what they went through, because it's too horrific, right? It's insane. So there's a lot of very, very dark negativity that's involved in this. So I understand how people just don't want to go down that road. On a surface level, we have to start to broach it, though. I mean, the Pizzagate stuff that was exposed. You know, this is a long-term thing. We saw the communications through emails through some of these people Hillary Clinton, the Obamas, and so forth, talking about, as the FBI started to disclose, certain language and so forth, the people that started to expose this, their careers were destroyed. They went after them, tried to shut them down. Of course, they're on social media like we are, doing our thing behind the scenes. So we don't get to reach as many people. And that's a problem, like we're talking about. So a show like this is going to be pretty disturbing for a lot of people, but it's time to really get out there and shake things up, or we're going to have more Virginia Giuffres, So she just recently committed suicide. One of the first major, revealers of Jeffrey Epstein, which brought down that whole empire. And you have people like Les Wexner.
Yep.
So Victoria's Secret, the limited, multi-billionaire gave Jeffrey Epstein his New York mansion so that he could do his sex trafficking there, right? Of children. So, he hasn't been exposed at all. A lot of people have come out. Virginia came out and exposed him. You had Maria Farmer also. She was held captive at his house, and his security made sure she stayed there in a villa that he had on his estate. Only until her father came and rescued her, demanded that she be let go, did they let her go. But it's still the same. These people, these billionaires can do their thing and get away with it for the most part. For a long time, he was convicted in Florida. He would go and stand the weekend or something, the weekend. That was his. After being convicted, just a couple of days, he had to stay, and he just called in. It's yeah, I'm here. And on the weekend, he would go in at night. He'd sleep there for 8 hours, and then he was left to go. So yeah, he wasn't doing any more business after that. Of course not. So that's another thing. We have just this judicial system that's controlled. The lawyers are controlled or paid off, or maybe they're part of the system too. They already partook of the action themselves, or were coerced into it, or somehow exposed to it and didn't realize what they were doing and thought it was somebody older. I don't know. But and then there's oh no, you were with a 12-year-old. That wasn't an 18-year-old or whatever. And then they have to do what they tell them to. And we've seen that with Jeffrey Epstein with a lot of people. Same thing with, like I mentioned, with the Playboy Mansion. I guess there were tunnels under the Playboy Mansion that went into other residences. And I guess there were video still in some of those other residences, and some criminal participants, criminals had some of the video, and they were still getting money from people that had become very high level. And they're we're going to disclose this. And the guy was I was, 24, 25, and I was successful, and I got invited, and, it was a playmate, of course I had sex with her, and then they got the video of it. 40 years later, they're we're going to disclose this. And now he's got a family, and he's multi-billionaire. He's what do you want? So they're still getting these people. It's crazy.
See, and that's really, and it goes back to what we've been discussing. You're talking money and power.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking the judicial system.
Right.
And you're talking people who are evil enough to do these honeypot schemes,
mm-hmm.
and then use the bribery to get what they need. And it's the same thing that goes on in the halls of Congress and the Senate, which is why it costs so much to run for office, because these are the people that make the laws. Who wants to control them? The people with the money. So all of these things factor in to what's been going on for a very, very, very long time. But in the meantime, it's hurting the innocent. and it's hurting the innocent badly. And I think a lot of people, going back to the media again, yes, it's a hard topic, but when you get into, um, even Epstein or any of that, you get into Prince Andrew, the way that people are brainwashed, it's, again, all conspiracy theory to these people. And it needs to be brought to the forefront so that people can physically see. I mean, obviously, you're not going to put a porn video up on national TV, but to see exactly who was involved, how they were involved. And, this isn't simple debauchery. This is sickness.
Mm.
This is absolutely sickness. And the people need to know these things.
Yeah, and it runs throughout the world. I've spent a lot of time in the Middle East. It's very prolific in the Middle East.
I've always thought that's probably the Middle East and Africa are probably the two biggest child trafficking areas in the world.
Oh yeah, by far. And you have a lot of people that go over there to take advantage of that, and they don't want those countries to become self-sufficient and free or anything like that, because they take advantage of all those children that are in those areas. So they're on the verge of starvation. That's great. They have all these biolabs over there, and they have this like in Sudan right now. The Muslims are going around and killing Christians, whole neighborhoods of Christians. And this goes on and on and on. Now, the Trump administration has said they're basically going to get involved in this, but maybe too little, too late. But that's at least they're getting involved, maybe. So I've seen this stuff for a long time over there, especially in the Middle East, where you think there's this thing going on with women in these tents, and these very rich people go in, and they're like consuming alcohol, which is against their religion, and in their minds, Allah doesn't see what goes on in these tents if it's in a certain area. So they go over this one bridge over to Bahrain from Saudi Arabia, whatever, and Allah doesn't see that area. So they make excuses. So this is part of the thing that we've talked about this show so far. People make excuses of why they don't want to go after this. These are powerful people. I don't want to end up like Virginia Giuffre. I don't want to end up like this person or that person. I'm not suicidal, and then that person's gone the next day after they say that. So they don't want to end up like that. Understandable. So as long as these powerful people are able to do that, then it's very hard for people to speak out. But it's horrific in a lot of these areas, and we've seen a lot of very high level dignitaries and so forth. I have that have been involved in it, and that's another showstopper for anyone that wants to speak out. So acceptable to a certain level throughout the Middle East. I've worked with in the CIA. I remember we had in Afghanistan. We're working with a group of training group, or I wasn't, but I was security for groups that were coming in from CIA headquarters and training some of the local CIA equivalent, I guess, and they were raping children, and those guys knew it, and they're like, what can we do? And they because they had all the intel gadgetry, they were starting to listen in on stuff. They found out where the local women that were there from other countries. I think there was a Japanese woman or a couple of Japanese women, and they were being low key, and they were helping battered women because that's a real problem in the Middle East as well. And of course, children are being married off to 40, 50-year-old men. It's like crazy. But so these women were there to help, and these guys that were being trained to be, spooks by our CIA, found where these women were and went in and raped them. And the guys who were training them knew it, and same thing. Well, what can we do? They shrugged their shoulders, and I'm like, why am I working for this organization? So I'm not working for that organization anymore, of course. But I did for a long time, and I saw a lot of this stuff. It's not good. So part of us wants to, maybe I can make an impact and do so much good that it will overcome that bad. Kind of like, what we talked about before the show, where you work for, the news media for a long time. I think you were one of the good guys. You said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, okay, bye. So now you're here and you're, doing what you were trained to do. So I'm doing what I was trained to do. Recognize all of this stuff that's in the environment and go after it. Right? I can't physically go after it, but I can expose it, which sometimes is even more powerful, because I think ultimately that's how we defeat it. Now, I could go after them. If I had, 007, license to kill, I would just go in and start taking them out. Do you think that would end the problem? No, of course not. It has to come from the consciousness of all the people saying, no, we don't have children marrying adults now in the United States. We used to, but we don't now, because we are like, we want our children to grow up and have a full, happy life. In other countries, they don't recognize that. In fact, they don't recognize girls or women. The boys, they recognize, but if they're not with a family, they recognize them for playthings. So it's a corrupt society in a lot of those countries. But who are we to point a finger? I think here in the United States, we have some of the worst child trafficking in the world. That's what I've heard. Maybe not as much now with President Trump back in office, and we're really starting to focus on it. Tom Holman talking about it. So we are talking about it. We're talking about it on the national level, but it's not getting the traction that you and I know it needs. That, a lot of people that are involved in this know that Kathy O'Brien. She's such a sweet, beautiful person. She always talks about love, just stay in love, don't be fear, no fear, love. But it has, at some point, we have to get more involved, right? We have to be more aggressive with it. Yes, do it with love, do it out of love, because we love these children, like we talked about at the beginning. It's like, that should be the most sacred thing to us, the children. In most cultures throughout history, that's the way it's been. So we have to recognize why that has slipped, and we have to correct that. And we have to start to move in a direction where if that gets out of line, we all as one move to make it right. And we get involved with it. That's the only way we're going to stop this. It's got to come from.
I think you also brought up a very, very key point, though. And a lot of it has to do with kind of where the cabal has taken us throughout the past 150 years, where we went from, times that we grew up where one person could raise a family, put a roof over your head, put clothes on your back, food on your table, send you to college, have a couple of cars, and they could afford to retire. And now two people don't make enough money to take care of a household. So there's all kinds of, there's working poverty and there's poverty. And when you look at places like the Middle East, there's a lot of poverty. Africa, where there's a lot of poverty. Southeast Asia, where there's a lot of poverty. And South America, where there's a lot of poverty. And people do go and do whatever they can to try and make a better life, including sometimes selling their kids off. But one of the things that I've thought about for a long time, and nobody seems to ever address it, is you have people that we know from the United States who take a lot of trips, single men take a lot of trips over to Thailand,
Yep.
over to Cambodia, over to Vietnam.
Hmm.
Why? There's only one reason. And you have to find that over there as well, the government has to be complicit in this, because it would be easy to track, okay, here's a single man, he's in his 30s or in his 40s, in his 50s, he's taking a trip over to Thailand alone. He's not going there on business. Going to be over there a couple of weeks. What's going on? And it'd be easy enough for this government to speak to that government, say, just keep an eye on this. Get a record and either try them over there or try them back over here. But again, it goes unnoticed. And that, once you allow that to happen with your people or other people's, you're being complicit in it. I mean, just look at The Sound of Freedom. What happened in that case? And then go and try and rescue the kids, et cetera, et cetera. But it's such a major problem globally, but it goes ignored globally so much. And as much as the president tries to do something about it, I have to go with, General Flynn's remark about local action, national impact. People have to get involved. People have to get involved. They have to stop thinking, well, somebody else, Michael Jaco is SEAL Team 6, and he's military. He can go and take care of it. No. Stop looking for excuses and other people to kick in on it. And even in what I spoke about at the beginning of the show, even if you go and you spend $650 and go get yourself trained in the ARC training, and you learn how to recognize, just walking down the street, there's something not right with this child and this adult. And we're not saying that you go over there and you tackle the guy and run away with the kid, because it turns out to be the kid's pissed off at his father and you're in jail for kidnapping. But people have to see and learn and get involved,
Right.
because otherwise corruption will continue as a continuous cycle, as it has for generations.
Yep.
What other knowledge is imparted?
And we have the disclosures, the Epsteins. I mean, we talked about Africa. Oprah Winfrey has a school there. She's had it there for a long time for girls, and there was all this scandal. Lots of the girls were coming forward. One came forward, then another one, another one. So is Oprah Winfrey in jail? No. And talk about Thailand. Yeah, exactly. Talk Thailand. We go back to David Carradine, found asphyxiated, or so they say, auto asphyxiation in a closet, hanging in a closet. Was there something more involved with that? Because there's one of his wives talked about incest and girls and so forth. Did somebody take him out because he crossed the line with girls or something? So I don't want that, vigilante stuff to happen. But at some point it might start coming to that. It's some of us are so frustrated with the system. System doesn't work. That are we going to move? That's one reason why you want it to go through the court system, because people start to really, pitchforks and torches. We don't want to get to that point, storming Castle Frankenstein with all the children in there. So, get involved, or else, that's the only way these guys really start to move And we have to really stand up to this. We have to get it. We have to coordinate. We have to get involved. We have people that are involved. Tom Holman, there's lots of people that would love to get involved. I've been involved for a long time. You've been involved for a long time. We need more of us speaking out, more of us sharing this information, more of us doing action, building places where children that have been abused can go get away from being abused. That's one of the problems too. They're in homes like the one I talk about in the Dutch farmland, and everybody's like, we're shocked that it happened, but that's the way it is everywhere. Like I said, it's in every county. It's everywhere. Probably down your street, it's happening. Very, very probable. Everywhere.
And
right?
you never know.
Oh,
I mean, even when I had Rachel Vaughn on, never spoken to anybody in regard to Australia with that. And she was the one who was talking about the fact that there was an orphanage right near. Her father was one of the key people involved in all of this. There was an orphanage, and they bring all these boys in, and then the boys just kept disappearing.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. It turned out a lot of the people in the town were involved with it. And hers was mostly satanic ritual abuse. But these are things that go on all over the place, and people aren't aware of it. And one of the things that we were talking about before with the organ harvesting, and especially with that going on below universities and all throughout this country, we've been fairly successful over the president's first term, and especially now with kind of really taking it to big pharma. But how much do you think big pharma's involvement is in this organ harvesting and going to, I brought it up before, a lot of this stuff is like Joseph Mengele. It's sick and disgusting. But how much do you think really big pharma gets involved in stuff like this and is paying people to harvest these kids, breed these kids, and then drain these kids?
Yeah.
Is this something that you find a possibility of reality?
Yeah, you get the billionaires again that are saying they have like the thing for aging. It's like get blood transfusions from younger people, and that's the way they put it. Of course, it's like, do you have some child that's like giving an ounce or
a pint of blood?
Pint of blood, yeah, pint of blood. Thank you. And I'm like, I don't think so. I never remember doing that until I became an adult. Giving to Red Cross and Blue Shield, whatever. I did that for many years, but not anymore. But there's a lot of people that believe these people. They can just talk around stuff. It's like there was like one show with an actress she was on. She was talking about how they would take the I think the cut penis stuff from a Korean baby or boy or something like that for their skin. Yeah, I have this Korean male penis that I use. She was joking, but was she? So there's a lot of the stuff they just in our face to condition us to this. And why would you think that it would be? I was just joking. Of course I was joking. But we find out over time that there's no joking about this. This is really going on. They're harvesting, children's, body parts, like we were talking about, their scrotum, penis, whatever. And when the priest for Jewish priest, when they do the circumcision, they'll cut a little piece of the circumcised you know,
The foreskin.
foreskin. Thank you. And they'll eat it. And this is for me. It's like, it's okay. It's like, it's for you for what? Why? Why would you do something like that? Because it's makes them young. It's like, it's, this adrenochrome stuff that we hear about. That's why these Jewish groups get kicked out after a while. They do this crazy stuff and it's part of their religion. So that's another thing that's a problem. This extremist in the religions, and that's really, I think, what a lot of this is. People are in this, really extremist, satanic, or extreme Christian, Orthodox. I don't know. It's like, how do you get to that point where it's okay for you to do these horrific things? So somehow in their minds, through some type of MK Ultra brainwashing or whatever, they accept it. Like Kathy O'Brien talks about, after about the third generation, it becomes part of the DNA. It's like, wow. So it's part of something that's been going on for, like we talked about, for hundreds, thousands of years, perhaps. These families are involved in it, and they're going to continue to do this until they get exposed and we take them down. But do they just slip away and go somewhere else and start it up again? It seems to be the case. The edict of expulsion, back in 1291, they just went somewhere else. And then the king of France kicks him out, and then a year later he's dead. So he kicks out the Knights Templar with him too. So powerful people can do incredible things. They can take down kings. They can take down presidents. So how much more will we take until we reach a breaking point where we really start to push back? And will we continue to push back? Will it be like the Dutch? A couple of years we demand justice and it's moving in that direction, and then forget. They're taking care of it, like we talked about. Somebody comes along and they're going to do the right thing. Okay, thank you. Okay, now I can go back to sleep. Right? So that's what happens.
And that's the biggest problem that we all face, because complacency is what got us where we are.
Yes.
No doubt about the fact complacency got us all where we are. And when it comes to the kids, you can't have complacency. There's just no room for it. And religion, unfortunately, organized religion, not a belief in God, not spiritualism, but organized religion has been one of the keys to a lot of this, because people follow a religion and people follow what the priest or the rabbi or the imam or whoever tells them, and it becomes all right. He's a man of God. This is what he said. So it works. But a lot of people, again, this falls under the complacency. This falls under the problems of waking the people up, of getting the people involved, of doing the right thing, of sitting there and not saying, wow, that was a great discussion, and then going and turning on the 11 o'clock news. No, we have to take that step forward. You gave your life for this country, and now you're doing this to push it forward and to try and make things better. I gave my life to evil for years, and now I'm doing what I'm doing to push this whole thing forward. But people have to step up. And people have to step up, and they have to. When you look at the news now, and you look at all the different forms of news, the alternative media, the regular mainstream media, and you look at where it goes, and you look at the fact that people still, unfortunately, sit back and want me to tell them what to do, or you to tell them what to do, or this one to tell them what to do, because, well, we're on camera, got to believe them. where's the cattle prod? What do you think could be the possible cattle prod to get people off their asses? And it doesn't involve money. It involves action.
Yeah, I'd hate to say, most people aren't going to respond until it hits home. That's unfortunately the way it usually works. But let's just imagine that it was your children. I used to think that way. I do not want my children to be subjected to anything like that, and I did in my best power to keep that from ever happening to them. I hope and pray it never did, and they're suppressing it, but I don't think so. So there's a lot of people out there. It's like doesn't affect me. It's not part of my reality. I don't care. But it can become part of your reality. Let's say your children's children, because you haven't done anything, your town has got to that point, like that town that I talked about, and you don't even know it. And they go to school one day and they disappear, right? So then you're like, well, how could this happen to me? Because you never got involved, because you never thought that it could ever happen to you. And now it has. And now you're outraged and you want justice. But because no one's really done anything, especially in your town, because it was able to infiltrate and get to the point where the justice system is not going to do anything. In fact, you become the problem, because we've seen that in a lot of cases where the parents are like, oh, they're trying to take my child, and it's like too late. It's too late. They're already in the system, and the system has them. It's very tough. Now I know people that basically knew that their child was going to be taken by the system, and they took their child and they disappeared. Right. So they were in a place where everything had started to really snowball and get worse and worse and worse. They had pushed back the best they could. They had been pushed back on. They had gone, global. I'd done shows with them, but eventually, unfortunately, it caught up with him and his daughter, his little precious daughter, because there wasn't enough involvement in the community. So that's one of the problems. That's one of the issues. He took down a lot of people, and they came after him hard. They came after him with a lot of very heavy duty people, and there was no way he was going to get justice. So he just disappeared with his daughter. So that's unfortunately that happens as well. It happens on both sides of that. So you'll have someone that's abusing that will get visitation rights, and because they know that the other parent is getting to the point where they're going to stop the abuse and get the justice system working, they'll snatch the child and leave. So that happens as well. It happens on both sides. So overall, we have to get to the point where we firewall all this so that can't happen one way or the other. There has to be some kind of legal system where it can, see the injustice, see who's doing the injustice, and go after the ones that are doing the injustice, and protect the ones that are justified in being protected. That is so common sense, so easy to implement, but because this criminal activity has been able to infiltrate and dig itself in so deep, it's almost like we're almost to the point where we're at the pitchforks and torches to get it fixed, because we're not getting our representation, and we're not getting people fixing this.
Well, when you go to the people who are supposed to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
you go to family court, you go to DHS, all of these child services, child protective services, alleged child protective services that are out there, and even a lot of your quote unquote charitable organizations that are supposed to be there to help the kids, are some of the biggest traffickers out there.
Absolutely.
Once a kid gets put into the system and child protective system, they're anything but protected.
Totally. No.
And once they get, Catholic Charities, the Red Cross, all of these organizations have been caught doing this. And yet, going back to what we were talking about just before, the dogma of religion, people won't accept it. We grew up in a generation where, God forbid, you said anything about somebody in authority. It was definitely your fault, not theirs.
Yeah.
And you would have thought that we would have moved beyond that now. But people still, when it comes especially to their religious leaders or the courts or the charitable organizations, they don't want to accept it until their kid disappears. And this is what you were talking about just a couple of minutes ago with the fact of, until it happens to you.
Yeah.
And we've got to get more information out there. We have to get more people recognizing this. And we have to really stem this trend that's been going on. We can't have a couple of people like us, Kathy O'Brien, people like that, talking about it, because we don't have the audience of millions of people who are going to hear us. We all have our small audiences, and we need that exposure in order to do it, because all of these people have important things to display because they've been through it. You've been through it. You've seen it personally. Kathy's been through it. She's seen it personally. Lynn's been through it. She's seen it personally. These are personal experiences. But people, again, don't want to believe it, and they don't want to get involved.
Yep. And then, like we talked about, if you do get involved, then you're targeted. I remember there was, I think it was Afghanistan. It might have been Iraq or Afghanistan, one of the Middle Eastern countries where military had gone in, and they're working with the police force. And the head of the police force was abusing children. And the officer that was working with them spoke out about it. It became public, and it was all in the news. And he was criticized. His military leaders basically yanked him. We're going to kick him out of the military dishonorably. And eventually he got justice. Good justice came in, helped him. He was able to keep but he got out. I can't, why would you stay in after going through that kind of, you're trying to expose evil and bad, what's bad, and you get criticized and destroyed. So it's really nothing can right that. But that leads us to what I think ultimately is the solution. And that's military justice, where you have, criminal courts, where you have the military justice system come in and take over. They have these people would basically be enemies of the state. They would be treated as treasonous, child protective custody people that are obviously doing evil. They can be proven. So a military tribunal, one day in, and you're gone, right? Depending on the severity of the activity, if it leads to the point where it's proven that you're part of having children killed, then you're going to get that kind of justice. If you're part of an organization that's trafficking, and depending on how severe that is, you could see, behind the bars for a period of time, maybe a long time. But that's, in my opinion, is the only way to fix this, because our justice system, like we're talking about, is completely corrupt. We don't want to do the pitchforks. We don't need to do the pitchforks and torches. We have a military system that can come in and handle this. I think it's going to come to that. We've talked about it for the political spectrum and so forth, and the criminal activity that's going on, the cartels and so forth that are in all the big cities. That could be taken out, and then they can start looking at the child trafficking and the abuse that's going on with the systems, the abuse that's been going on with the hospitals, universities, and all that kind of stuff. There's people that know it. There's people that can point to it. Yeah, that person's involved, that person's involved, and this person did this, this person does it. Here's the evidence, here's the evidence. There's people that know all this stuff, but they can't get any justice because the justice system will turn on them. So they'll once the justice system is on their side, then it can flip, and those people can be they can be held accountable very quickly, very easily, and dealt with. And then it's on to what else is next, you know. So I think it's easily fixable, but we have to get the military involved. The military justice system is just carte blanche. This is the way it is. We're not wiggling here. It's proven you did this. We have the evidence. Here's the witnesses. No witness tampering has been going on. We have video of you doing this, and it's done. It's a done deal. You know, boom, gavel, and off you go. I've been in military justice system. They're very efficient, and they can handle a lot of people every day. So we're going to need that going forward. I think that's where we're going to move to. It's not just going, like I said, just for in a political system that's corrupt. It's going to be for all these other systems that are out there that are corrupt as well.
Well, I think we all know that it's going to military justice.
Yeah.
We all know what's going on at Gitmo and a bunch of other bases. We all know that the president just brought in 20 more JAG officers into DC. We know that they're looking to bring in another 600 JAG officers.
Yeah.
It's not recruiting season. It's being done for a reason.
Yeah.
And we know that there are a whole hell of a lot of indictments that are still unsealed, each one of them with a possibility of 99 other indictments inside each indictment. So that's a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And when you go through that, you can't sit and have a trial that goes on for a couple of hours each day, you know, bringing in, choosing the jurors, going through the voir dire and seeing who fits and who doesn't and stacking the jury. It would never happen. So it's got to be the only way. And with the fact that, and the information that they have with the tunnels below the White House, and, you know, even with what they've done, allegedly with the new ballroom that's going in.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
And digging a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And finding the other tunnels that were over there.
Oh yeah.
That will probably end up being related directly to Pizzagate and this and that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's going on that's going to blow. I think it was Charlie Ward that said it initially, you know, what's the difference between conspiracy and fact? About 12 to 18 months. You know, so it's that type of a situation, and people are going to have to see it and accept it. And if things go in that direction, you know, between also with the executive order that the president signed to bring military justice and civil justice together,
Mm-hmm.
so that can happen. And then going back to, of course, the famous, you know, EO 13818 and 48, and how all this ties in. There's a lot of justice that's there to come forward for these kids. In the meantime, we've got to stop the injustice.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you think back on your career and you think back on the inhumanity that you saw, is there really anything that matches what you saw in regard to the kids?
Not even close. Not even close. That was always the most disturbing thing. And one of the things that I was like, how was this allowed? You know, but it was like the wars. We were all like Afghanistan, 20 years. We were like, this was over in a year. What's going on here? So there's manipulations that I think have been cleaned up in a lot of these different systems. Bad people that have been removed. You're very well informed about, the JAG officers coming in, getting ready. We have 500 quick reaction force. I think probably have already been trained, but supposedly they're going to be trained. National Guard troops for every state, 500. So that's just the opening. That can very quickly, very easily be, more can come on. They're like the scouts that come in and set up and get everything. Okay, we get the headquarters set up, and this is how we can expand, and this is where we need to focus, and they get the map room, and they got the, all the intel, and they're building it out, and then here comes the special forces guys, and they're like, this is the way it used to work for me in my teams. We'd have guys come in and set up in different countries. We would fly in, everything's ready, we get the brief, we go and do the hit. All right. So that's the way it's going to be in a lot of these cities, taking out the real bad guys. That's going to be a chore. I think that's already happening. ICE is basically going after the real bad people right now. Of course, some of these governors and mayors are part of the problem too, and they'll probably get military justice at some point. But they're trying to roadblock all that stuff, saying, oh, they're going after just innocent people and blah, blah, blah. But the people that are there on the street, the real people, are very happy. They're like, I thought this was all BS. And I just accepted that we had all these problems, but look how quick they're being fixed. It's incredible. That's what we're going to see. It's, the child trafficking problem. Yeah, it's horrific, but there's other levels above that keeps that going. You have the cartels. They're, like you said, a child can be used over and over and over again, and then eventually organ harvested. So they were making tons of money on that. Drug one time. So they have all these different systems. They come into control. You look at Rio de Janeiro. I saw a map of all the different drug gangs. It's like they're webbed all over that city. It's like, God. And they just went after one spot. And the police lost 4. And the bad guys lost, bad guys probably lost, 70, 80, 130 people killed, because when the bad guys run, they just shoot behind them as they run. They blow stuff up. They don't care about the people. But then the press comes out, and then the people that are part of the problem, like we talk about, there's people that are part of the problem that protect all these people. The people that say, oh, Biden's great, while he's fondling children live,
Sniffing the hair.
God, unbelievable. So, you have all that. So in Rio de Janeiro, the press is like, oh, these bad cops, and they just killed all these people, and they laid all these people out. And it's like, no, those are the people that the bad guys killed when they were running away, shooting at the cops, and they don't care. But, that's kind of the way a lot of these governments and the people that they have paid off, free this, free that. Mamdani is he going to be the governor? The mayor of New York?
Probably.
God. Probably, I think so. And he wants to bring in, let prostitution become legal. Now, Lara Logan did a show on Fox where she disclosed where the cartels that traffic women and children, most of it goes to New York City. Hello. Who's putting him in power? Cartels, because they're in with the leftist governments, the leftist governors, the leftist mayors, cartels, traffickers. So we have a larger system that has to be taken down, but it has to be exposed. And then you have people that are protecting it. I call them consciously compromised, right? They've been MK Ultra'd by the press and by their governments and so forth, their educational systems, It's a tough road to, you know, unplug them and get them. When I started coming, I have had thousands of people that have come to me over the last several years and said, when COVID happened and we couldn't do anything, I started doing research. You were the guy that woke me up. I was like, wow, that's awesome. And so where are they at now? They're helping to disclose. They like my shows. They share my shows. It makes an impact. It makes a difference. So this show that we're doing together, Mark, is this could be a landmark show right here, right here. It could go
I hope so.
nationwide. It would be amazing. Will it? I don't know.
On a personal note, because this has always been one of my questions a lot recently. When you go and you watch a lot of these quote unquote riots going on with the ICE people and this and that and the other, National Guard there in town, I pray on an ongoing basis that just once, one of these idiots spits on a National Guard or an ICE agent, and they just take the butt of the gun and boom, just once, because I equate it to the idea of what happens when you turn on the lights in a room and you have roaches. You know, I think it would just take once, and they'd all back off. But obviously, you can't do that.
Well, that is a problem because they don't have guns. They don't arm these guys. You see them running around chasing people, taking them down to the ground. It's, you know, you got like unicorns and giraffes and all kind of crazy animals out there, you know, in their face, and they're part of the problem. And in the meantime, they got people throwing stuff at them. It's a mess, and screaming at them and blowing whistles and megaphones. It's like chaos out there.
But seriously, they're unarmed?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For the most part. There's one big riot that happened, I think, on a couple days ago, at the Washington Navy Yard. And it looked like there were hundreds of people that came in and they were demonstrating, were trying to push into the Washington Navy Yard for whatever reason. I don't know. But the National Guard and police came out in massive numbers. And all you see is the National Guard run around chasing people down and taking them to the ground. And so I don't want anybody to get shot, either side. I don't want to see that. But at some point, it has to, like you're saying, there has to be, you F around, you find out, you know, type thing. And it's not happening yet. So maybe if they make a statement, disperse, or you're going to be arrested and you're going to be tried and you're going to jail for 5 or 8 years. Right? So some of the people in Portland that have done what you talked about, spit or attacked federal agents, ICE or the National Guard, whoever's there, I've heard that they're going to give them 8 years. So if that really happens and more people start to hear that, I remember when President Trump remember they were pulling down statues. He said, you pull down statues, you're going to get 10 years. And it stopped. So there has to be some kind of really strong consequence. And I think that's going to be very important going forward, because I think there's going to be violence. I think there's going to be a lot of bullets going back and forth, just like we saw in Rio de Janeiro. That hasn't started yet. You got the knuckleheads, the useful idiots that are out there pushing. That's the first stage of things right now. There will be a second, a third, and then a very, very violent fourth stage where they'll have military-grade equipment, drones, and all kind of crazy stuff. Probably armored vehicles. They'll take down police headquarters and get all their weapons and spread. And I've seen it in the Middle East. I've seen it many times. I think it's very, very, very possible it's going to happen here in the United States, because we have leftist governments. In the Middle East, they're extremely leftist. So it was easy for them to start a demonstration like we're seeing now, and then it moved into a riot, and then the bullets started flying, and then it was game on. It's full on counterinsurgency. So that's coming, unfortunately. That's when the military, I think President Trump has been preactive, basically stopping it before it really, catches and gets out of control early. I thought preemptive would not come, but it's here. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I was like, how would somebody go in first? So we've seen the ICE agents. We've seen special operator type people going in and getting drug related people out of buildings, going in. I see their movements. I'm like, that's tier 1 level guys. So they're out there doing the work.
Well, when it's easy to say that they're going to get 8 years, but it's got to be a military tribunal, because the courts in Oregon are not going to give them 8 years.
Oh, no. Good point.
So it's got to be a military tribunal.
It'll have to be a military court that's not a military, but a federal court that's Trump leading.
Friendly, yeah.
Which I don't think is there. There's too many. It's been infiltrated way too much over the years by the deep state, the globalist. So it's got to be military tribunals at some point. So they're just playing along right now while it's not super. It's the first wave, like I talk about, and they're going to try and put as many National Guard into cities as they can. They started a program in Memphis, Tennessee, which is extremely successful. The people are loving it. We need to have that in pretty much every city in America, unfortunately.
But isn't it amazing how that happens in Memphis? And you don't hear anything about it.
Nothing.
But you always hear about Chicago, LA, and New York and DC. You never hear about Memphis.
They had one show where they talked about it, and you had all the top people that were there, FBI and Bondi, and they all, Patel, everybody came out. They said, we're doing it. The people wanted us here. Trump was like, people want us there. We're going to give them what they want. And I've heard from a lot of people that are there. I've seen shows where people come out, young black men, like street guys, and they're cleaning the city up. I thought Trump was like BS, and I'm seeing the stuff they're doing here. I'm like grateful. And I would never have thought this could happen here. Wow.
Well, and this is a key, because when you look at it, and you have to think, which is why so many people believe that we're watching the movie here. Because if you think I know logic's not a big thing out there anymore, and common sense isn't a big thing out there anymore, but if you think logically about it, who doesn't want law and order other than the criminals? Who doesn't want law and order? Who doesn't want their neighborhood to be safe? Who doesn't want to live somewhere where 10 o'clock at night you want to go out for a walk? Yeah. And you can. So when you watch this BS that goes on, and the posturing that goes on with somebody like Pritzker or Newscomb and this and that and the other, you got to sit and wonder, really, who's buying this crap? But then you see it with the usual suspects on MSNBC and, the regular carriers, et cetera. It's just an embarrassment, and it's more of an embarrassment that more normal people don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, where you look at New York City, you would think I've been in New York City many times. I was there before the towers went down. It was nice city, great food, great views, plays, all kind of crazy stuff. Fabulous city, nightlife. I was back there again after the towers dropped. Uh, Everybody's like super nice, very friendly, you know. And then I was back a few years ago, and everybody's kind of back to not so nice anymore, but still beautiful city to a great extent. Good people, you know, um, living their lives, eating good food, going to plays, having a great time. They're going to vote for Ma'am Donnie. Ma'am Donnie. I'm like, what happened to you guys? What? This is the United States. The Constitution. You're putting a communist in there that's going to allow all this stuff and give away. The only people are going to pay for all the stuff that he's going to give away are the people in the environments that are all red. That's a blue little dot, and they're going to suck all the energy into that city. I don't know. I don't think the people surrounding are going to put up with that.
Well, first of all, what goes on in New York City, thank God, all the surrounding areas don't get affected by their taxation.
Yeah.
So, and the president already promised he gets in, he's not sending any federal aid there.
Right.
So, but what he's put out there is the one keyword. It's the new best 4-letter word, FREE.
Yep.
It's the new F word. Everything's free. And people, unfortunately, look, I can understand. I was born in the city. I grew up in the city, worked in the city. Things are hard. That's why I say if you make it here, you can make it anywhere. But there's a little bit of common sense that has to go through people's heads.
Yeah.
Where you sit and you say, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody's got to pay for it. And I've had this discussion with a billion people. There aren't enough billionaires in the world that if you took all their money, they could pay for what he wants.
Oh, yeah.
But people fall for it.
I think I saw somewhere where if they took all the billionaires in the United States, took all their money like you're talking about, it would only pay for all the stuff that the government uses about 8 months, and then it'd be gone.
Yep.
For 8 months, that's it. And then they wouldn't have any of that money to invest. They wouldn't have any money for businesses to pay people that they're paying now. So yeah, there's no free. And the SNAP program, 1 out of 8 people were on SNAP. What happened to America? So this is a problem we need to look at as well, because we've made it into giveaway country. The states are giving away everything, and we got to stop that. We got to make it. You need to work for what you get, and so people have gotten to the place they're like, well, that person gets free. That person has another kid and they get so much more money, and they don't do anything. They don't do anything. Get their food delivered to them. They go to the beauty parlor and they look beautiful, and they don't do anything. And the state's paying for everything, and the government's paying for everything.
Yep.
Why should I work? I understand. Yeah, we've got to change a lot of systems out there that are broke.
And allegedly, that's what's going to happen. But all of that trickles down. And I think that once we do get back into a phase and into a stage where if everything that everybody's talked about comes true, I don't like to speculate, but if everything that everybody's talked about comes true, that people will be able to go back to the time when we grew up, where you had one person supporting a family and one person, if you had kids, staying home and taking care of the kids and making sure that things were just so. And I think that's one of the biggest and most important aspects of that. People have to work and people have to support their families. You can't be running around having a bunch of baby mamas and baby daddies. And you have to have family. And that's what this country, and this is what most of the world has lost, is family and God.
Yeah.
And those things have to come back into people's lives, and people have to start accepting responsibility and stop waiting for somebody else to do it or somebody else to pay for it. You're old enough to get married, you're old enough to have kids, or if you didn't get married and you have kids, you created it, take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where a lot of our trafficking comes from. Very, very sad. Very sad. But Michael, I tell you, great discussion. Absolutely great discussion. It was a pleasure having you on. Once again, everybody, you know, if you want to get in touch and find out what's going on with Michael Jaco, michaelkjaco.com. You can always find him. And you can find him on Rumble and Telegram and X, I do believe. Correct?
Yeah, YouTube. Back on YouTube, unbelievably.
YouTube.
Michael Jaco on YouTube. I don't know for how long, but I'm back.
With them, you never know how long. Anything that's owned by Google, we don't know.
Yeah,
So,
free speech, as we know, it's tough. And that's why I'm glad we did this show today. Thank you so much, Mark.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for your service. And thank you for tonight. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Everybody, we'll be back next week. I hope that you all have a fantastic week. And once again, like I said, that little QR code up in the corner is if you want to contribute to Louis Herm's campaign, which I think is very important. Even if you're not in California, I think it's very, very important.
Yep.
For those of you who would like to go and donate to the ARC training, every penny counts. It all 100% goes to train these people to recognize, rescue, and rehabilitate trafficked children, abused children. So if you can do that, find it in your hearts. I know a bunch of people have already. I hope a bunch more of you do.
Thank you.
Next week, like I said, we'll have another show. And for the first time in my history of doing this, a sponsor. But that, again, all of that money will go directly to the ARC training and to the Saratoga Children's Farm.
Wow.
So
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, everybody out there. I also absolutely, we can never forget this. I want to thank Claudia, Kat, Kerry, and Doug, because without them, we would not be here. Well, we'd be here, but it would just be the two of us having a conversation. So I want to thank them for their endless support. This is our front line. These are the people who have to deal with all of you out there when you send in your comments and everything else. So thank you guys. You do the best job out there. Everybody, have a fantastic week. Michael, it's been a pleasure. And we'll see you all again next week for another Respect. Good night, everybody.
Good night.